Hello, friends. Welcome back to a fifth edition of What the Facts, the most frequently asked questions about nutrition. This question comes from a dear friend of mine, Zena. Zena posed this question a couple of weeks ago. She wanted to know, where does a vegan or someone that's following whole food plant-based diet get their calcium? So I have a special presentation on her behalf to answer this question, but it requires me to share my screen to this video. So let's see if I can do that in a timely manner. Let's see. All right, it worked. So there's the question. If you follow a plant-based diet, where are you going to get your calcium? Well, the answer is similar to where you're going to get your protein. And that's the same place that some of the most big-boned, long-boned, massive creatures on this earth get their calcium, from plants. Plants get it from the ground, and it gets into the plants, and animals eat the plants. When we eat meat, egg, or dairy, we're going through the middleman, especially with the dairy. And actually, it'd be the middle woman in that case. But we're the only species of mammals that drinks other species' milk, and way past the weaning age. Even calves don't drink the milk from the cow past 6 to 10 months. And unfortunately, most calves in this country that are in these factory farms don't get to drink the milk at all. They're carted off. But that would be another story. So where should we get our calcium? From plants. Now, who should be drinking cow's milk? Calves. Alexa, come on. These calves, okay? Not those calves. Calves should be drinking cow's milk. They have to grow a pound or two per day, and cow's milk provides the nutrition for that, so that they come out about 100 pounds, and within a matter of 4 to 6 months, they're 300 to 400 pounds. Is that what you want? So yeah, calves should be drinking cow's milk. Now, let's get back to calcium. There are a lot of needs we have for calcium that are met by having proper dietary intake. Our brain won't function well without calcium. Yeah, we'll be more depressed and anxious because of that if calcium's off. We won't have good sensory of taste and other sensory organs. Won't function well. Our bowels won't function well, moving things along in terms of the contractility of our bowel. We'll have more stomach pain and diarrhea. May move things too fast, actually. Our muscles won't contract as well as they should without the proper balance of calcium inside and outside the muscle, and especially that heart muscle. Calcium channels in that heart muscle are very dependent on the right amounts of calcium being available. Our hair and nails won't be healthy. Our bladders won't empty like they should. Our feet won't feel well. They may be tingling and cramping when we don't have adequate calcium. Fortunately, there are homeostatic mechanisms to keep all that from happening because calcium is preserved in our bones. Now, once you get older, the efficiency of that process sometimes wanes, and your bones can get a little weaker. And if you're like me and you're not as sure-footed sometimes, this may happen. One more time. And that can be devastating. This is a study that showed what happens within a year of having a fracture of certain bones of your body. Take note of the hip. Now, of course, these are not young people. We're talking about people retirement age or older, in their 70s or older. Well, you fracture one of these bones, it takes years off your life. You might not live another year. So it's important to really watch your step and to have healthy bones. Now, why is cow's milk not the answer? Well, it's loaded with sugar, for one thing. Yes, even skim milk and 2% milk has lots of sugar in it. And it's sugar that has this particular lactose sugar isn't well digested by a lot of people of color. In fact, about 75%. And for some Asians, it's up to 80 or 90% don't digest lactose well. And somewhere around a half. I've seen a wide range between that to reflect whites. I've seen as low as 12% and have lactose intolerance as high as 50%. Depends on where you read. The other reason is it's loaded with fat. Of course, not skim milk, but who drinks skim milk? 2% and higher percentage whole milk loaded with fat. And what fat? Saturated fat, which is not good for the brain, not good for the heart, not good for the gut, not good for the kidneys. Yes, increases your risk factors for several top disorders that take us out. Also, that animal protein I spoke about in earlier videos that can drive inflammation, that new 5-GC can cause more arthritic problems, more colon inflammation, more skin problems. So not good. And we find that in countries that don't drink cow's milk hardly at all, there's a lower incidence of fractures. Who would have thought? Lastly, cow's milk has other offerings we don't really need, like trace amounts of antibiotics and hormones like estrogen. We certainly don't need more of that, do we? That can drive certain cancers, prostate cancer in men. So what are the sources of calcium? Green leafy vegetables are some of the best forms of calcium to tap into, especially those turnip greens, and or actually the collard greens have the highest amount. Then the turnip greens, and then you have kale and spinach. They all have calcium. Almonds have calcium, and tofu, soy has a lot of particularly tofu has a lot of calcium. Other products that are soy-based also, soy-based yogurt, blackstrap molasses, beans are loaded with calcium. Orange juice has some calcium. Fortified plant milks have calcium. So plenty of choices and alternatives there. But my favorite are the greens because you get other micronutrients along with them and some fiber. Now, you're not going to absorb this calcium very well if you don't have vitamin D. And the vitamin D has been talked about a lot in the last couple of years because of the pandemic. Clearly, your immune system is not well supported if you have low levels of vitamin D. So make sure you have your vitamin D level checked periodically. And it's probably good to take supplements if you're not in the sun very often, or if you live in climates like where I live in the Midwest of the United States, and there's very little sun during the winter, you really should be taking some vitamin D supplement. I have to mention that the next most important thing besides calcium and vitamin D intake for healthy bones and healthy processes dependent on calcium, are weight-bearing exercises. And walking is a big one. But also doing some other exercises can be a little diverse in your exercise activity, and your bones will love it. They will be healthier. All right, that about wraps it up. The bottom line, folks, is you can get calcium from plants. You don't have to get it from animal sources. To absorb the calcium, you absolutely need to have adequate vitamin D levels. Weight-bearing exercises are just as important, physical activity. And cow's milk is not essential for any health needs, certainly not for your bones, but plants are. I'll leave you with this last line from a poem that I wrote last year, got published this year. And it's, leave the animals be. Let's decrease the demand for their breeding It would make us healthier, slow global warming, and reduce GMO crops grown for their feeding. All right, have a great week. If you like this video, please hit that thumbs up, subscribe. This is going to be a weekly thing here. And somewhere lower in the information on this video, I'll have a link to my website. See you next week.